Hi, this is Dr. Eric Fields. So let's discuss some of these misconceptions that have been spread throughout the internet regarding counting calories or calories in general. And they've been spread because there has been a lot of misinformation that has been put out there or misleading information by many of these self-proclaimed weight loss gurus. So I heard a bunch of different weight loss gurus talking about how you cannot lose weight unless you believe that you can lose weight, that you have this, kind of thought process that, you're capable of losing weight. And there's nothing wrong with that in and by itself. What's wrong with that, though, is they go a step further to say that you can do everything right. You can exercise regularly. You can, come up with this super healthy eating plan and essentially be in a caloric deficit and still not lose weight if you don't believe you can lose weight, which is just, a bunch of nonsense. Listen, as a psychologist, I believe wholeheartedly in the power of the mind and that you need a proper mindset to lose weight. But you need a proper mindset so that you do the behaviors that you need to do to lose the weight. You have to believe that you're able to lose the weight so that you can set up a plan and stick to it because you believe and feel confident that this can work. That's a far cry from saying that if you think it, it will happen. Trust me, if you are not in a caloric deficit, you will not lose weight. There are times when I believed very much so that I was going to lose weight on a given week, and I didn't because I wasn't in a caloric deficit. I did some extra eating. I didn't follow my plan as diligently as I needed. And there were times where I thought that I wasn't going to lose weight, and I did, because some of the events that week that might have led to a little extra eating did not cause as much interruption as I thought they were going to in terms of my weekly plan. And so I was able to lose the weight. So trust me, thinking that you can lose the weight is not enough. You have to actually put in place a plan and follow it. There are actions that need to happen. Now, getting back to this idea of calories, and that you don't need to count calories and the misconceptions or misleading claims about that. To some degree, that's true. But let me explain. You have to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. And if you are in a caloric deficit, you will undoubtedly lose weight unless you have a very significant medical condition or physiological issue that wreaks havoc on your metabolism and makes it super difficult to lose weight because of that, because it really slows down your metabolism to such a degree. Barring that kind of situation, if you're in a deficit, you will lose weight. Yes, there are some weeks, like I've talked about in my prior video about the whoosh effect, where the weight loss will be masked, but it still happened and it will eventually show. You will lose weight if you're in a deficit. There's no doubt about that. Now, as far as this idea of you don't need to count calories, well, that's true so long as whatever you do creates a deficit. Okay. For many of us, we know where these extra calories are coming from. So it's true. You don't need to count calories if you have a significant amount of weight to lose. You know, if you have like 30, 40, 50 pounds of weight to lose, chances are really good that you know where the extra calories are coming from. For many, many of us, the extra calories come from these extra meals, such as these extra snacks that we have, that could be several times a day, or the constant grazing, which is like picking here and there on food, right? It's that behavior outside of, let's say, the three main meals of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so it's true. It's very easy for many of us to put ourselves in a deficit because all we have to do is just get rid of those extra meals. Or if we're having these, you know, huge helpings of food at mealtime, again, just by eyesight, you know, we can cut down on the portions. And like I said, chances are really high that that is going to put us in a deficit. Again, we know where the extra calories are coming from. We know about our snacking, especially late at night, which is the worst time to snack because our metabolism is slowing down and preparing us to sleep. We know that, you know, going back for second and third helpings for dinner or another meal is definitely going to result in a lot of extra calories. So it is true that you don't need to count calories when it's so blatantly obvious where the extra calories are coming from. But when you start losing a lot of weight and your caloric needs change, because if you go from a certain weight and lose 30 to 40 pounds, your caloric needs are going to change a lot. Your metabolic needs are going to change a lot. If you used to require 3,000 calories a day about to maintain a certain weight, if you lose 30 or 40 pounds, those needs could change drastically, like 2,500 calories a day to 2,500 calories a day. And so therefore, you know, you may need to kind of scrutinize a little bit more your eating plan to find a few other areas to get rid of calories to keep the weight loss going. So when we get to, or when we get very close to our goal weight, then yeah, you may have to, for a limited time, be a little bit more vigilant of calories. But the main thing that I think everyone needs to learn is about the nature of calories, and that they do count in the sense that if you're consuming too many of them, you are not going to be losing weight. And it's important to know in general how certain common foods, you know, can have a lot more calories than other kinds of foods, right? It's important to know this idea of calorie density versus, you know, a sparse amount of calories in a given amount of food. You know, lettuce has a sparse amount of calories. You can eat like 2 pounds of lettuce, and I think it's like 20 calories. But if you have like a couple handful of nuts or several donuts, that could easily be over 1,000 calories. It's important to know approximately, you know, what kinds of foods have a lot of calories versus ones that don't have many. And it's also really important to understand that fat has twice as many calories as carbohydrates and protein. There are about 9 calories in a gram of fat versus 4 calories in a gram of carbohydrate or protein. And that may surprise you. You may say, really? That's interesting because it seems everywhere on the internet that carbohydrates are our enemy and they're just awful and horrible. They're not. Um, they're not as good as protein because carbohydrates get stored more easily than protein. So if I had to prorate those three macronutrients, protein is the best because it's 4 calories and doesn't get stored easily and leads to building muscle, which can increase your metabolism. So protein is the king, followed by carbohydrates, which are 4 calories, same as protein, but do tend to get stored more easily, and fat being the worst. And so you may say then, but wait a minute, what about the ketogenic diet? I mean, on that kind of diet, it's all protein and fat. Is there some magic to that? No. Going back to the main law of weight loss, you have to be in a deficit to lose weight. The reason why the ketogenic diet works so well is because by following that diet, the probability of you being in a deficit is very high. The reason? Because you are eliminating an entire macronutrient. There are only three: protein, fat, and carbs. So if I take out an entire macronutrient, and carbohydrates tends to comprise a large part of our food consumption, if we take that entire macronutrient out, there's a good chance we're going to be in a deficit, even though we kept in the worst macronutrient, which is fat. So there's no real magic to the ketogenic diet other than it tends to put most of us in a deficit because we're getting rid of one of the major macronutrients in our eating plan. Now, when you get to really low body fat levels and you're looking to get like that 6-pack or that fitness bod, that fitness competitor's bod, at that, at those levels, then yes, certainly there are strategies that come into play with manipulating these macronutrient ratios. There are different exercise strategies. But it's not till you get to that kind of weight loss that you even really need to worry about macronutrient ratios and different kinds of exercise tricks and strategies and eating strategies and plans like carb tapering and all this other stuff. And you don't need to worry about any of that when you have a significant amount of weight to lose. And again, with a significant amount of weight to lose, there's usually no mystery of where the extra calories are coming. And that's why so many of these gurus are out there making these claims that you don't need to count calories. The problem is that people take that to mean that calories don't count, and that is not true. And these fitness gurus almost kind of like lead you to that conclusion, which is really problematic. And the other thing that's problematic is that there's never a need to count calories. And that's not true. When you get to really low body fat levels, or if you think that your plan is really good and you're neglecting to, acknowledge certain calories that you're consuming throughout the day, then sometimes, yes, you need to take a closer look at the way you're eating if you can't figure out where those extra calories are coming from. It's good to have an education about nutrition and calories. You should have that. But at the end of the day, you don't necessarily need to scrutinize over, how many calories you're eating here and eating there when you have a lot of weight to lose. So I hope I cleared up any confusion that's caused by many of these weight loss gurus that are on the internet. I'll have more to say about this at another time. This is Dr. Eric Fields. Let me leave you with this. Start today looking at where you can cut back in your eating plan, and you're going to start being on your way to losing weight. I'll talk soon.